What's up, YouTube? Siegfried True Lane here today with another Genshin Impact video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5-star character we just got, Itto Arataki. Now, Itto is, like, for me personally, he's a lot of fun. I really enjoy him. I like his playstyle. I like his actual, cosmetic look. And I mean, like, it's great to run him alongside Zhao, mostly because him and Zhao, like, Zhao's a demon hunter and he's a demon pretty much, which is fun to run. If you don't know what that is, like, if you don't know that, but Onis are considered demons in Japan, even though in my opinion I've never got that. I always felt like they should be considered ogres, but I guess the person who translated into demon instead of ogre. With that said, though, we're going to be going over a bit of Itto today, and then at the end I'm going to give my final opinion, as well as some rumors that, like, people have been spreading around that aren't quite true about this guy. So let's go ahead and start with his his builds and whatnot. Well, his skills and whatnot about him, his information. So Itto, of course, is a Geo character. He is a Geo character that is going to do best when you focus on his defense. The higher defense he has, the better. And we're going to go through that in just a bit. First, let's take a look at his first talent. So something special about Itto is that on his second and fourth hit, he's going to get a stack of superlative strength. And when he has 5 stacks, which are max, you can just hold your attack button, and he's going to do several super strong attacks. And then when he gets to the last one, he's going to do a finishing attack, which does crazy amounts of damage. Okay. If he doesn't have them, he's just going to do a regular slash, but what's called the Seichi Monji slash. But as long as you have those superlative stats, he's going to do the Arataki Kisagari. Again, it's a really good attack. If you can see here, the Arataki Kisagari has a 158% attack, and then the final slash is 326. And then, of course, the superlative strength. Each stack lasts 1 minute, so you don't have to really worry about those running off. And when he has stacks of superlative strength, it actually does not cost stamina at all. So let's take a look at his first ability, his elemental ability. We have the Masatsu Zensugi, Akaushi Burst, Ushi meaning cow, by the way. If you don't know that, in Japanese, Ushi is cow, which is kind of funny. I think that's Red Cow Burst is what he's saying. Let me say something here. I don't know if that's Aka as an Akai or Aka, like, which would be red, or a different thing, but it looks like Red Cow Burst. Without the kanji, I won't know for sure. Anyways, when this hits an opponent, you get a stack of superlative strength. So throwing at an opponent's already going to give you 1 stack. It taunts opponents, which is really useful, especially for the new enemies that like to give you the bleed. They'll attack it instead, and then when it leaves, it also gives him another stack. So the most important thing about this is the stacks of superlative strength and its ability to taunt. But this thing also does crazy amount of damage. It does more than you'd realize. It's really powerful, because at first when I read this, it was kind of like but nah, this thing is good, and I'm really looking forward to getting it to 13. This will be the next skill I crown. Alright, this is the big one, his ultimate. Now, his ultimate is very similar to Zhao's. He goes into a burst mode, but this burst mode increases his normal attack speed, and also increases his attack and his attack based on his defense, right? Now, I do believe it's a 10% attack speed. And then on the first and third strikes of his attacks, he will grant Arataki to 1 stack of superlative super strength. So I'm thinking that it actually gives you 1 each slash. The downside of this, it does decrease his elemental physical resistance, but that's why, usually I run a shielding team. With that said, if you look at the skill attributes, his attack bonus is 103.7% of defense at level 10. I always crown ultimates of characters I use. The attack speed bonus is 10 seconds, the duration is 11 seconds, and the cooldown is 18 seconds. The energy cost is 70. Next we have Arataki Ichiban, Arataki number 1. And when Arataki uses consecutive Arataki Kasagari, he obtains the following effects. Each slash increases the attack speed of the next slash by 10%. Max attack speed is increased by 30%. So in other words, first attack, second attack is going to be 10%, third attack 20%, fourth attack 30%, fifth attack 30%. This is going to be really important come C6 when he has a 50% chance not to use his superlative strengths. So remember that. Then we have the Bloodline of the Crimson Oni. His Arataki Kasagiri. Damage is increased by 35% of his defense. Again, why his defense is so important. And then this is just really good for getting extra wood. So, you know, like, I'm more hunting trees down now because of this. So, those are his talents. Let's take a look at his constellations. Now, as you can see, I already have him C4. I'm really hoping to get him to C5 before he leaves. And then next time he comes back, I'm going to get that C6. But let's go and take a look at C1. C1 is extremely important. I think it's a really good one. In fact, honestly, Itto has... all of Itto's constellations are good, to be honest. So C1, whenever you use his ultimate, you're going to automatically get 2 stacks of superlative strength. So if you use that and use the cow, then 3 right away. And then when you do 2 attacks and you have 4. Oh, sorry, you have 5. And then he will gain 1 stack of superlative strength every 0.5 seconds for 1.5 seconds. Meaning that as you have that 5 seconds, you'll then keep getting those stacks. So you can pretty much just smash things up in the beginning of his ultimate. Next we have Gather Round. It's a brawl. This one is really good. This one I think is a little bit better. But this one is one that does require a full Geo team to get a full potential from it. And that is after using Royal Descent, well, after using his ultimate, each party whose Geo will decrease the skill's cooldown by 1.5 seconds and restore the energy to Arataki Itto. Now, this does not include Arataki, I believe. It might, but I don't think it does. And if it... I could be wrong. If it does, then you don't have... you can still run this with a triple Geo team. If it doesn't, you might need the quad Geo team. So I'm not 100% sure if this includes him or not. But you get a max of 4.5 seconds and a max of 18 energy can be restored in this manner. So in other words, when you hit this at full potential, instead of needing 70 energy, you only need 62. And instead of being at an 18-second cooldown, it's only at a 13.5, meaning that it's pretty much off cooldown when you finish the ultimate. This is just a basic upgrade. Next one, you have this one, Jailhouse Bread and Butter. Pretty much when his ultimate ends, all party members will gain 20% defense and attack for 10 seconds. This is really good when you want to go back and re-rotate things, especially since you can throw his cow and get a bit of extra damage. And the other thing to remember is that his ultimate will be able to be back up before this falls off. So you can actually get that bonus on his ultimate if you're quick enough for the beginning part of it, giving him extremely crazy damage. This, of course, increases his ultimate by 3 levels. This is the one I really want to get next. And then this, of course, is really amazing. Itto's charge attack deals 70% crit damage, meaning that his Arataki Kasagiri gets that 70% crit damage. And when he uses the Arataki Kasagiri, he has a 50% chance not to consume stacks of superlative strength. This means that there's a really good chance that you can just sit there and hold that attack button and you're going to be doing crazy damage, getting that 30% attack speed, especially during the ultimate, getting those other 3 stacks during the ultimate. And if you're keeping those stacks up, it's insane damage. So, and it's really important to remember the 70% crit damage because we're going to go to that when we go to team comps. Now, let's go and talk about Itto's best team comps. Now, it's going to be dependent on a couple of things. So for me, if you have his weapon, which I have his weapon's going to give at max level 88.2% crit damage. And Itto's natural leveling up ability, natural stats that get increased when you level them is crit rate. If you look at my artifacts, I only have 11.3% crit rate, but we have him at 35.5 because he gauged it through his leveling process. So, if you have his weapon, and if you have a C6 Goro, because C6 Goro, this is very important, it gives a 40% damage, crit damage to Geo, 40% Geo crit damage. If you have 3 Geo characters, this is going to allow you to get an extra 40% crit damage. So if you're running C6 Goro, C2 Itto, And the weapon, I would personally suggest running Zhongli, the Traveler, Itto, and Goro. The reason being is the Traveler has an actual. Not only does his ultimate barrier stay up for 5 seconds long, giving 20 seconds, when you have that first constellation, it also gives a 10% crit chance. So in other words, when you pop the Traveler's ultimate, you're going to be able to get energy back, 10% crit rate, and it lasts for 20 seconds. So it's a really good one to have up. So this is, for me, my priority team right here, since I have his weapon and I have all that extra crit damage. Again, with his weapon and with Goro, that's 128% crit damage you get added on to Goro. Very important. Now, if you don't have his weapon or a C6 Goro, but he is C2, I would suggest running Zhongli, Itto, Goro, and Albedo. The reason because of this one is because Goro's crit damage is not going to be as high, thus this crit rate isn't as important, and so you're probably going to want the flower DPS more. Now again, if C2 Itto gets its buffs off Itto as well, so 3 Geos, place Albedo honestly with Raiden or with any other sub DPS or energy battery you want. But I don't know 100%, so that's why I suggest Albedo. Now, if you don't have the weapon or a C6 Goro, and you don't have, and you have a C0 Itto, my other suggestion would be then to run Zhongli, Itto, Goro, and Bennett. Now, I personally don't like Bennett, but the fact is, when you run Bennett, you can use Bennett's ultimate to get extra damage. But one thing I would warn about that is that it's important to remember that his ultimate only lasts 12 seconds. So it's not a very long ultimate, and that's one reason I like the Traveler more, is Traveler gets 8 extra seconds. And so you really have to be quick with the switching, especially since his lasts 12 seconds, and Goro's buff only lasts 10. And then the last team that I would suggest, say you don't have Goro, a team that I would personally suggest running is Zhongli, Itto, Bennett, and Chongyun. Now the reason I suggest Chongyun is if you look at Chongyun's constellations here, sorry, not constellations, if you look at his talent, he gives Claymore users 8% attack speed. This means that instead of a 10%, Itto will have an 18% attack speed, and his geo damage cannot be overwritten by the frost. So using Chongyun's E is going to give 8% more attack speed to Itto, alongside Bennett's attack buff. You don't need Goro to run Itto. Goro does make Itto much better, but you don't need Goro. And, you know, C0 Goro is going to be good enough to run Itto. But if you don't have Goro, you can still run Itto with Chongyun for the attack speed bonus. And if you don't have Zhongli, you can run any shielder you want. You know, everyone should have Noel. And if you don't have Noel, you should have Diona or some other shielder. But those are the team comps that I would personally suggest. Of course, his best team comp, in my opinion, is going to be these 4. Mostly because of how much crit damage he has. That crit rate is going to be a lot more important. Now, weapons. Let's talk about weapons. So there are multiple weapons for Itto. So I'm going to go, of course, his best weapon is the Redhorn Stone Thresher. By far, this is his best weapon, no questions asked. At R1, it's still probably best than every other weapon. I can tell you right now that it already is doing more damage than the Unforged does, and way more damage than the Rolf's Gravesword does. The next, his best free-to-play weapon, so the best free-to-play weapon would be the White Blind. This one is a really good free-to-play weapon because it's going to give him naturally more defense, up to I think about 50%. Plus, you can get the refinements of it for free, and it should be 12% at max 4 times. So in other words, 48% extra defense, meaning you get almost 100% defense with this weapon on him. And being as he gains all that defense to his attack when he goes into burst mode, and then his ultimate also, like his Kisagari Arataki, also gets a scaling off of his defense. This is definitely a really good weapon to want to use for him if you're looking for a free-to-play option. R5 is going to be really good. Another good one that I find is the Unforged if you're running Zhongli. This is another one of those weapons that is quite often underestimated, and people do not understand how powerful it is, and people for some reason like to praise this one, which, while it looks cooler, has nothing compared to this one if you have Zhongli. So let's take a look at comparison real quick. Wolf's Gravestone gives a 25% attack. Sorry, this is refinement level 2. Should be 20% attack, I believe. But we'll use the R2 mostly because it's here. Let me pull up Honey Genshin. I always forget that I have these at different refinements. Just give me a second here. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to be 100% honest. I only use Honey Genshin for information. Mostly because I don't care about the leaks. I'm more looking for just like weapons information, ways to easily see what I need to track down. There we go. Alright, so here we go. So if we look at the weapons here, the claymores, just so we look at them at R1s. The Wolf's Gravestone gives 20% attack on here, and then you get a 40% attack for all party members for 12 seconds when you hit an enemy under 30% HP. I mean, personally for me, that's not really good. The cooldown is too long, the last of the buff is too short, and the HP threshold is too low. These scale the exact same. As you can see here, 49.6, 49.6, these scale the same. The Unforged, however, I hate the ads, gives the exact same buff if you look at it. So, for example, 4% for 8 seconds, a max of 5 stacks. 20% attack on hit. After 5 hits, you're going to get that 20% here. But you also get the 20% shield strength. And if you're shielded, you get this is doubled to 40%. So, in short, the Unforged, if you have Zhongli, easily at R1 gives you 40% attack versus the 20% attack that this one gives you. Yeah, this can give you 60% when you get to this threshold, but that's 30% of the fight versus the 100% of the fight having that full buff. So, a lot of people sleep on the Unforged. I really think it's much better than people realize. But let's go and go back to the game. Which brings us to, if you're running Zhongli, I think the Unforged is a very good claymore for any claymore user, including Itto, as it gives a crazy buff. As you can see at R4 right now, it's going to get 70% buff. It's pretty insane. Some other honorable mentions I would mention is the Serpent Spine here, mostly because it gives that crit rate buff, which is nice. The crit rate is really good, especially since he's going to have, you can spam up those crit damage artifacts and don't have to worry about crit rate at all with him. And then the other one, of course, would be, we got to go to the shop for this one, the Black Cliff. And the one reason I don't really suggest the Black Cliff is because this really isn't, oh, it's not even here. Second. The Black Cliff really, in my opinion, is not a free-to-play sword. It really isn't. I mean, it's more a it's still a luxury weapon, because the fact is you have to use summoning currency, which you should be, if you're free to play, using to pick up characters, not picking up this one. But it does give you that 55.1% crit damage, which is nice. Personally, the buff itself is not that good. White Blind has a better one. So I would still suggest over the White Blind and the Black Cliff Slasher, I would suggest doing the White Blind, as it's way more free to play friendly and it's not going to take any of this summoning currency, which again, I personally suggest using these items for getting extra wishes if you're free to play. Now, Itto's artifact set is, of course, the only set you should ever want to use with him is the Opulent Dreams, increasing his defense, and then, of course, giving him the 6% defense and 6% geo bonus every time he uses a geo attack, which stacks to it, which has a maximum stack of, I believe, 4? Yeah, 4 stacks. So, definitely really good to have because, again, like at max, that's, what is it? 24% geo damage, 24% defense. Again, just building him up fully. It's like, we'll just hop on so he gets those buffs real quick. See how long does it take again? Every 3 seconds. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, there's his buff right there, 2.7k defense. Dude, he's a really good character in my opinion. Like, so this definitely is artifact set's really good on him. My last, kind of some closing opinions on Itto. In my opinion, so these are all good. Again, these are my opinion. I definitely feel like Itto is probably the best DPS in the game, as he has several characteristics from other DPS characters. He has Hu Tao's first constellation, which is when you have the superlative strength, you don't consume stamina with charge attacks. And Hu Tao pretty much does not consume stamina with charge attacks. That's her first constellation. He has Zhao's burst, but he doesn't have Zhao's downside of taking damage every fight, like constantly losing health. I to this day don't understand why they did that to Zhao. Why this drains his health. It makes no sense, and honestly, it just makes him worse. Zhao, I love Zhao, but he doesn't have good teams, and they really, in my opinion, built him wrong. And I think a lot of people think he's better than he really is. He's not as good as people think he is. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite characters, and I will always use him. But definitely, with a lot of the character builds we have currently and a lot of the party setups, he just doesn't fit. He needs some fixes to make him fit. And then, of course, he has quick attack speed like Eula, which is really nice. A major complaint for Itto is that he must be on a Geo team. This is, again, not correct. Yes, he is going to be best on a Geo team, especially with Goro and, in my opinion, Zhongli, but he doesn't have to be on one. And this honestly goes along for everybody. Eula is going to be best paired with Raiden and another cryo user, either Diona or Rosaria. I would say Rosaria for the crit rate buff. Almost every single character. Zhao is going to be better off on a team with probably Kazuha or Venti for increased energy recharge. And the only characters that really can run on any team is really Zhongli, Raiden, Bennett, and I think that's about it. Those are the only characters that really can run on any team, and they fit on every single team. I guess Jingxi too, but I mean, like, I don't understand the big... Like, I have Jingxi max constellation. I don't understand why he's so great, to be honest. I don't get it. His ease on such a long cooldown, I don't get it personally. But definitely, you know, he can be run on other teams, and I definitely think that you could ideally run him with Chongyun and Bennett and get some good damage if you don't have Goro out. So, and if you don't have Zhongli, you know, you have Noel's shield, you have Diona's shield, you have a lot of options. So, and I think Itto has more free-to-play options than most 5 stars do. A good example is the White Blind is going to be really good on him. Like 100% to his defense is going to be really, really good, actually. Like, you could easily get him to over 3k defense. And since he always is going to want to be in burst mode, you pop that burst mode, that's going to all go to his attack. He's going to be hitting hard still. So I definitely feel like he has a lot of free to play options. And again, Chung Yoon and Bennett are both really free to play friendly units to get. You have Noel, which is a free to play, really was a free to play character you get in the beginning. And you have Diona. I mean, like, literally, it's like he's got a lot of good free to play options. So I know his banner's just about up. If you haven't gotten him, I hope you get him if you want him. Is he a necessity? I mean, still in the end of this game, get who you want to get, really. But like, don't. I would also be very careful about websites. Like, I've seen a lot of these things on websites. I want to give me a second. I want to show you guys what I mean. I know a lot of people look at these websites, look for websites for kind of ideas of characters, and I kind of want to show why this is something I would personally avoid. So here we go. Give me a second here. So for example, if we look at Itto's teams that, for example, this website has suggested for him, they suggest Goro and Albedo and Diona, or Traveler, Fischl, and Beidou, and then of course you have this one with the Zhongli down here. But they don't have Zhongli. Like, honestly, this doesn't make any sense. Zhongli should be on every one of these teams, and I'm going to explain why right now. So do take a look at Zhongli's shields. And this doesn't matter if you're C0 or C6. His shields reduce elemental resistance by 20%. This means that when you have his shield on, Itto's getting 20% attack increase. And when you run a double Geo, this is nothing to remember. When you run a double Geo, give me a second here. You get 15% shield strength, and characters who are protected by the shield will get a 50% damage increase, and dealing damage will decrease their G resistance by 20%. In other words, I just feel Zhongli, like, you're going to get 20% more resistances versus Diona, and Zhongli's shields last longer than Diona. So, like, personally, this is one reason why I would avoid websites, because websites like this give you a team that, in all honesty, is subpar. If you have Zhongli, you should be running Zhongli. You should not be running him with other, with a different tank if you have Zhongli. So, and again, at the same time, like, for me personally, I know a lot of people like Bennett. I don't think personally Bennett is ideal for him either. I do think ideally would still be the Traveler for that crit rate bonus. But that's just, again, my personal opinion. With that said, guys, if you did get Itto, what do you think of him? Do you like him? If you didn't get him, did you want to get him? Or did you not care? And I will see you guys in the next video. Siegfried Lane, signing out.